So I welcome you all. Yeah. Okay. So I welcome you all to the second live session of this course titled Psychology of Emotion, Theory and Applications. Uh, so the idea of this live session is to just clear your doubts if you have any doubts. Till now, whatever has been covered in the lecture, if you are finding anything difficult to understand, or any specific question in mind, you can ask me here so we can have a live interaction session. Uh, so there are, I think you can join through Teams as well as through YouTube, and you can post your queries. Okay. So you can use this YouTube I welcome you all option, yeah, to post your questions if you have joined through YouTube. Okay. So till now, I think we have covered about 6-7 modules. So a lot of concept we have already covered, and some of these concepts are kind of we started with the introduction of this course, and then we tried to understand the different aspects of emotions in this course, because emotion is a very complex, as it has a lot of diverse kind of dimensions. So through this course, we are trying to understand all these dimensions. So we kind of in the different modules we have been talking about, we introduced about the concept of emotions. We also kind of tried to give an overview of basic theories of emotion, which tries to explain how emotions are experienced within human beings, and the different dimensions and the different propositions around the theories of emotions. We also talked about culture and emotion, how culture kind of influences emotion. So because this is something very important, that emotions could be expressed, or the way they are understood and expressed could be, there could be some cultural difference in terms of that. Obviously, some of the basic emotions could be universal. So in a whole module with 2 lectures, we discussed how culture could influence emotions and so on. We have also discussed the physiological aspects of emotion, because emotion is very strongly associated with the physiology, the body, how it impacts the body and the brain and so on. We also kind of talked about group emotions. So emotion is not just an individual thing. Whenever we are in a group situation, there could be a group emotion collectively experienced by people. So in that context, we discussed group emotion, and also we discussed sometimes we also experience emotion on behalf of a group. So if you're a member of a group, you could experience certain emotion based on what the other members are doing. So if one member of a group is very successful, probably you feel happy because you identify with that group and so on. So for example, your team wins in a competition, you may feel happy about it because you have an identification with that team. So this is how group emotion works. And also we are kind of proceeding, we'll discuss emotion-based disorder, emotional intelligence, and so on. All these things will come in the later modules. So based on that, whatever, if you have any kind of queries, anything you would like to kind of have a discussion, we can have those discussion. So you can post your queries in the YouTube chat. So Gajendra ji, good afternoon. So you can kind of share how are you kind of experiencing this particular course, if you have any specific comments. Are you able to connect with the content? Are you able to relate with the content? Or are you finding any difficulties and so on? So you can kind of share all these ideas. So since the course is in the video module, generally, people may have a lot of doubts and queries because it is just one-way lecturing. So this is during the live session, you can ask any specific questions about anything about this course. So a lot of question basically students generally keep asking about is the module, the structure of the final exam. So final exam I have also discussed in the last live session also that it will be very similar to the questions will be very similar to the assignment questions. Just like objective questions will be there. There will be 50 questions and each question will carry 2 marks. So this is how what will be that will be the structure of the final examination. And the question will come from all the modules. So you have to read all the modules. So read those what is called as that lecture notes, and also for elaborate understanding go through the video lectures. And there I have explained the concepts in very detail. Suman Singh is asking, is the exam going to be online or offline? The mode is online, but you have to go to a particular center and then that will be computer-based exam only. But you have to go to a particular center, whatever that center, it will be communicated to you later. That in the online mode only the exam will be there. So Arak Shah is asking, I am a psychology student and this course is very helpful for me. I have been following the videos as much as I can with the ongoing exams. I do not have any doubts till now. It's very good. If you are able to understand, then my purpose is solved. So obviously the psychology student will find it much more kind of, because the content is more related to the discipline of psychology. So probably it will be more helpful and maybe easy for you to understand. But I think a student from other discipline can also easily connect with this concept because emotion is something that we all experience on a daily basis. So even though the few modules may be little technical, but the ideas are easy to understand because these are the things related to our own life. On a daily basis, we experience this thing. Just we're trying to understand through certain research-based findings and explanations from the theories. We're trying to understand whatever we experience. So we are getting some kind of paradigm, some perspectives to understand whatever our day-to-day experiences. So in that sense, I think content should not be very difficult. In fact, the later models will be much more easier because they are more related to emotional intelligence and so on, which I think can be very easily understood. First few modules may be a little more technical. Okay. So if you have anything to ask? Okay, so many students also they keep asking through mail is there, some student they miss some quizzes. So they are asking whether they will be able to appear for the final exam or not. So regarding quizzes, I think the general understanding is that, in the final exam, best 8 quizzes out of 12 is taken into consideration in terms of taking the average of the mark. So even if you miss probably few quizzes, if you have attempted at least 8 quizzes, then it should not be a problem. So if you have missed 1 or 2 quizzes, probably then it should not be any problem. You will be able to appear for the final exam. So the marks from the quiz a certain percentage is added, and I think the best of 8 is taken. So that is another question. Some of the students were asking about missing quizzes. Okay. So how many of you have a kind of, able to understand this whole concept of the relationship between emotions and cognitions? So there is a module where we discuss the relationship between cognitions and emotions. Could you understand all these concepts, all the theories that we discussed? Some of these things could be little technical, but not, I think, very difficult. So cognition, emotions, basically in that context, we discussed about, how thought processes and emotions are kind of interrelated to each other, how each influence the other. So your thought processes, your beliefs, your, how you perceive things could influence your emotions, and the vice versa. Your emotions could influence the way you think about something. So these are very kind of connected to each other. So, and which may have a lot of implications in terms of how we make decisions in our life. For example, many times we take a lot of decision based on our emotional experiences of life, and many times the emotion decides and we take certain decisions. So emotions could be very dominant, and many times emotions is actually helpful in terms of giving certain information about a situation. You feel bad about, or you have a feeling, or many people call it as a gut feeling or something about a situation or a particular situation that, I don't feel good about it. So you take decisions accordingly. So it helps you to kind of make decisions much more quickly in many contexts. But obviously it may also make certain errors in certain situations. So depending on, and sometimes, we need to kind of, for example, certain positive emotions could be, whenever we experience positive emotions, we are more likely to use heuristics. Heuristics basically means shortcuts to make decisions. On the other hand, when we feel sad and, let's say, depressed on other ways, we tend to make elaborate processing of information. So we kind of analyze a lot of things. Why this is happening? Well, we keep asking more questions and elaborately kind of process. So the kind of emotion that we experience can influence how you think about a situation, how you take decisions in your life. So emotion has a lot of functions in terms of even in the cognitive realms of life. Many people only think that, whenever we are emotional, we are not rational, which may not be true in all sense, because a lot of rational or cognitive functions are assisted by emotions. It has its own problems and so on. But the idea is that, is many times emotions kind of facilitates a lot of rational processes. So this traditional idea of emotion is completely opposite to rational thinking. It may not be right. A lot of research shows. It may actually help you to make a lot of decisions because it gives you information about a certain situation. You feel something about the situation, and accordingly, helps you to think in those directions. So that is one thing. Yeah. So I think so this module has a lot of practical applications in terms of understanding how we make decisions in our life, how we, a lot of time, like or dislike some things based on our emotions only, which may not have a lot of thought processes involved in it. So there is something called as a mood congruence. So Suman Singh is asking, I have missed few assignment earlier. Is it going to impact my scoring? So as I said, I think best of 8. So as long as you are appearing on the 8 or attempting 8 quizzes, I think it should not impact your scoring. Hitashi Chauhan is asking, sir, can you throw light on the role of emotional intelligence in the field of theater? So emotional intelligence, I think last 2 or 3 modules are on emotional intelligence. So that will come, I think, in the upcoming lectures. So we have discussed in elaborately in a detailed understanding of the emotional intelligence in those modules, where we have asked also talked about initial the theoretical part of it, and then the last 4 or 5 lectures, 3 or 4 lectures on applications of emotional intelligence. Not specifically, I have talked about theater and other thing, but emotional intelligence has a lot of role to play in the workplace, in the health and well-being part, mental health, well-being, organizational behavior, corporate, the organizations or company, wherever we work, workplace context, emotional intelligence has a lot of role to play. And we have discussed elaborately about how emotional intelligence is important in the context of all these places. The field of theater also, because theater or acting is directly related to, emoting or the expression of emotions. Acting is mostly about how you express emotions of a character. So if you understand emotion, if you are aware of subtle emotions, different types of emotions or different grades of emotions, if you kind of relate with the different understanding of different emotions and emoting them properly, it will make you a better, obviously, actor or actresses. So in the theater also, obviously, emotional intelligence will play a huge role in terms of how you emote expressions of emotions, particularly those subtle emotions and so on. All this comes from understanding of emotion. If you are intelligent about emotions, it will help you or facilitate you to in your acting aspect also. So theater, it will also have a lot of role, and I'm sure when you go through those modules related to emotional intelligence, you will have better understanding that how it can play a role in the context of theater also. Even though I have not discussed directly, but your theoretical understanding will help you to kind of understand the applications of that. Okay. Arshit Sanjay, good afternoon. Okay. If you have any question, you can ask. In this course also we'll be talking about emotion-based disorders also, particularly depression and anxiety. And because this is at the core of most of the disorder is actually emotional problems. If you see psychological issues and problems, one of the central part of psychological disorders is that is mostly connected to the disturbances in the emotions. Particularly, some of the disorders are very strongly connected to only emotional aspects only, like depression, anxiety, and so on. So we have discussed those aspects also. And in the last module, we discussed how it is related to mental health, particularly in well-being. That emotion can play a very important role. Okay. Araksha is asking, is master level is EI an independent course topic? Master's level is it depends on what kind of course you are taking. EI, some people generally take it as a part of. It could be this is a kind of is connected to different subdisciplines of psychology. So emotional intelligence is taught in various aspects, even in clinical psychology, even in positive psychology, and so on. So it could be taught as a particular part of different courses. So it can have application in the diverse subdisciplines of psychology. So if you have more kind of specific thing to ask, then I will be able to understand what you are talking about. In master level, yes. So master level EI could be one of the topic in some of the courses. And maybe people have short-term courses on emotional intelligence itself also. So there are courses on that also. Ashit Sanjay is asking, sir, could you please explain me how to express the right emotion at right time? Because I lack expression of emotion. Uh, uh, so Ashit ji, I mean, the expression of emotion, I mean, I think that emotional intelligence part actually deals with a lot of these things. The different actually applied aspect of emotions. When we talk somebody, when we say somebody is emotionally intelligent, we are basically talking about he is able to kind of express emotions, understand emotions, not only of himself, but herself, others also. So emotional intelligence include your own understanding of your own emotion, understanding, expressing, regulating, the same thing for the others also. So that makes you much more emotional and intelligent person. So basically you know the emotions much more. You are aware of your own emotions as well as others. The more you know about yourself, the more you will be able to kind of regulate them and express them also. Many times this expression problem could come because, I don't know, I mean, from where, when you say I lack expression of emotion, in what context you are talking about. So if you feel, let's say, angry, there will be an expression of anger, no? Somebody may be kind of expressing it in a very extreme form, but some other people may express it in a subtle form, but everybody will express it. So if you can kind of, I mean, because it depends on individual differences, so many things. Some people may express in a very polite way, in a more subtle way. Some people are very, kind of in the expression of emotion, they are very kind of loud. So those individual differences are fine. You don't have to be loud in expression of emotion all the time. But the idea is, emotions are not just expressed through faces, through your tones or the voices, quality of the voice, everything expresses emotions through the body movement, the way nod your body, move your bodies, through the faces, through the tones of your voices, everything expresses emotions. So I don't think anybody lacks expression in every aspects. However, you may be, in terms of expression, you may not be very loud. That is okay. Individual differences could be there. So maybe, if you have more specific things to ask, you can ask, or maybe, right emotion at the right time means expression will happen only when you experience that emotion. No, right time, I don't know what do you mean by right time. So whenever you experience emotion, automatically that emotion will be expressed. In the right time or right context means what? Basically, obviously, certain emotions could be problematic in certain situations. So we need to regulate. Now, if you keep expressing your anger all the time, you will have a lot of conflicts and problems in your life. Right. So we need to regulate emotions. We cannot keep expressing all the emotions all the time. Depending on the situation, we need to tailor it a little bit. So that is also part of emotional intelligence. You cannot be, let's say, somebody died and you cannot laugh there. So that will be inappropriate. You need to be appropriately expressing emotions. So that comes from the understanding of the situation and the context. So we need to regulate also many times. You may feel very angry, but because the situation is not right, you need to control it. That is also very required. Otherwise, your life is full of, will be a lot of conflicts and so on, and the problematic relationships and so on. So in that context, emotional intelligence is part of that. How to control negative emotions and so on is also part of that. You understand? So, I mean, in that context, obviously, we need to learn to regulate emotion also, especially the negative emotions. All these things we talked about, we'll be talking about in the upcoming modules, where we'll be talking about emotional intelligence in detail. I hope it is clear now. Okay. Anything more to ask? Sanjay ji, okay, sir. Okay, so I hope it is clear. So you should not all the time judge that I am doing wrong or right. No, you may not may be subtle in terms of expression of emotion. That is fine. You don't have to be loudly expressing all the time, and you need not express every time. Sometimes it is better not to express something because it will create problem. So that is also an intelligent behavior. Some people, they don't know where to express what, and then they destroy everything and creates conflicts all the time. They creates trouble all the time. So appropriate expression will automatically happen when we kind of experience certain emotions, and obviously we all regulate it according to the situation. That is also necessary. You cannot raw expression of emotion could not be or cannot be there all the time. As a human being, we all regulate it. If you are not able to regulate emotions, your life will be full of problem. So that regulation is also important. So if you are not loudly expressing emotion, you should not worry about it. It's okay. That is fine. Individual differences are there. Everybody need not be same in terms of expression of emotion. Okay. Anything more to ask? So in those lectures, try to follow those lectures as much as possible. I have discussed a lot of research findings just to give more kind of credibility to what we are saying. Otherwise, it will become a layman thing. If I keep asking, say this thing, this happens, that happens. So because this is a formal course, certification course, so we need to kind of make it more credible in terms of citing researchers and so on. So in the video lecture, you will find a lot of research findings. I talk a lot of experiments I have been discussing, so that you understand that from where these findings are coming and from where we are making these conclusions. These are not so in psychology. We don't just talk about whatever makes sense. So these are all data-based findings. Psychology is hugely data-oriented, field where whatever theories are developed, whatever research findings we talk about, this all comes from data, from the research and then analysis and so on. From the real people, we collect data and then we analyze and then make certain conclusions. So the video lecture, you will find, I am talking about a lot of research findings, a lot of experiments that were done, a lot of field studies that were done, and how those conclusions were reached. So just to make it kind of, more credible and more those kind of thing. I can go on without talking about all these things also, then it will not be a kind of, proper course where, we're talking about findings and so on. So Ashit Sanjay ji asking, sir, I suffer from stammering problem and that affects my emotion. That's why I asked how to control my emotion. See, stammering is okay. That could be a part of it, but so it's okay. It's a part of something that is you are experiencing stammering. You don't have to feel, obviously, as a human being, you feel sometimes bad that you are not able to communicate. But I don't think stammering will kind of become a hindrance for communication. Only thing that it kind of delays sometimes and so on. And as an individual, we feel bad that I'm not able to kind of speak properly and so on. And it happens mostly when we feel a lot of anxiety and so on. You might have experienced when you are relaxed, you stammer less. But when you feel a lot of anxiety in front of somebody and someone, then it also kind of becomes more prominent. So stammering sometimes has a lot of psychological component to it also. So let's say a lot of people who stammer in the normal life, when they sing, they don't stammer. They go into the flow of music and so on, then they don't stammer. Some people stammer only when they are a lot of anxieties and a lot of anxiety they experience. So sometimes it could be part of psychological aspects to it also. Obviously, there could be other reasons to it. You will not go into that part now. It's okay. I mean, first you need to accept yourself, whatever it is okay. But I think even if you stammer, you will be able to express whatever emotion. But obviously, I understand what you were saying. That is okay. But sometimes we ourselves feel bad about ourselves because we perceive something and think something in our own mind. Others may not be thinking like that. So first, self-acceptance is more important. Chandrika ji asking, sir, for preparing for exam, will 1 week before exam date preparation enough? As I'm working and simultaneously preparing for CA exam, I'm finding difficult to study psychology daily. See, how much time you take for preparing for exam, it depends on you. You know, you can prepare 1 week also, depending on how intensely you are studying. The thing is, while preparing, go through all the modules. Have a basic sense of all the basic concepts of all these modules. Concepts, what is this concept is all about? So those basic concepts, few major theories, name of theories, some basic ideas behind some of the theories. So those basic, important, prominent thing you understand, then I think you will not have much problem. So I'm sure you can prepare in a 1 week also if you. So it depends on your intensity of preparation. So obviously, it is up to you. It depends on your how much time you give, what is your understanding level, and so on. Ashish ji asking exactly, sir, I cannot sink to emotion and situation. Okay, I think so. Then that emotional intelligence factor will help you to understand a little bit. And you will learn slowly, you will learn. Don't worry. So for preparing exam, go through those lecture notes properly. Wherever you don't understand, go to the video lectures. If you can follow video lecture, that is the best. Obviously, where I have explained in detail. But at least you go through the lecture notes properly. Questions will not come outside of the concept that I am discussing. Nothing will come outside from that. So it will be from within those things only. Okay. Okay. Any more clarifications? So we'll have one more live session. That will be the last one. Maybe within a month. So that will be the last interaction sessions. So there also you can ask. So let's say while going through all the videos or solving assignment and so on, if you have any doubts, you just note some doubts and you can post them in the that course page also. There is a Q&A section. So you can directly post your queries there, and you can also discuss in the live sessions also. So even if you post it in those Q&A session, you'll or some of the TA or I will respond to that. So Chandrika ji asking, yes sir, your lectures are so good. So thank you Chandrika ji, and I mean, if you are understanding, I'm happy that you were able to understand. So obviously, some lectures will be a little bit more technical, so you have to bear with that. I tried my best to make it as less technical as possible, but since it is a course from a discipline, a few things will be technical. But we all can understand this thing because this is connected to things that we are doing in a daily basis, everyday experience based concepts. So we all can relate to that and understand that. Okay. So if you have any question, I will take. Otherwise, I will stop. Okay. There is no more queries. So you think the last modules will be more of application types. You will get to know more about how all these concepts of emotions could be applied in the real life context, and more in terms of application mode we'll be talking about in the last modules. So, so the course has both the theoretical as well as applied aspects. So last few modules are actually based on applications only. So I think there are a lot of your queries, maybe, you will be able to find your answers. Okay. So if there are no more questions, I will stop here. Okay. So thank you everyone for joining, and see you in the next live session. Okay. So I'm leaving, huh?